What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Solana today. Hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, my friends, and let's get into it. Let's not waste any time at all. Here we are, sitting at $190, and I do want to say I don't remember who it was, but somebody requested that I talk about Solana and compare it versus Bitcoin. We're going to do that in this video as well, but we're going to do the USD valuation first, okay, and then go from there. Solana, as of now, from its relative high to a relative low, has dropped 33.8%. I just want to check others real quick, because I think that's about average, right? We look at Solana, we're on a daily time frame. Let's go on a daily time frame. I think that's about average. Solana being one of the top dogs, you know, you would think that it would see a less than average drop, actually. But 36%, right? That's what the average altcoin drop. Solana is not included in this because it's in the top 10. 33%, that's about average. So that's good. That's encouraging, right? Likely, I would assume, because I don't think that the rest of the market moves down. I think that it's found its lows. I would assume the same with Solana. Though this chart, the reason why I'm checking it at this point at all is because this chart, to me, it does look more bearish than the average coin. So getting the perspective of, even though it looks more bearish, it's seeing kind of the exact same drop that the rest of the market is seeing. It worries me a little bit less, right? We look at the daily RSI. I probably could have calmed my worries real soon with just looking at this here. You've got these lower highs coming into play here, and it looks as though you're breaking out of this downward sloping trend here. Yeah, you've already broken out of it. Not only have you broken out of it, but you rejected the 40 area. You went down. Normally, when you reject the 40 like this, you expect to see the oversold zone, okay? It's just like when you bounce off the 40, you would expect to go to the overbought zone, or at least something above the 60. You find support on the 60, you expect to go to the overbought zone, right? Whenever you bounce or you reject the 40, and you don't go to the oversold zone, that's normally a good thing. You get back above the 40 after that, that's like a reversal, right? It's like I don't know, man. You got, if you were in a, let's put it in like UFC terms, you're fighting somebody, right? Here, you're going for the kill, somebody takes you down, and then now you've got the reversal on them, and now you're on top. I don't know if that makes sense if anybody watches fights in here, but just essentially, it's like you've reversed. You had all the reasons to go down, but you didn't. You were rejecting the top end of this trend line, right? You were supposed to go lower, but you didn't, and instead you broke out of the trend. I think being on a daily basis, this is going to signal beneficial things to come over the coming days, right? And beyond all that stuff, we get rid of the RSI. We look at this green line here. The green line is the 123 moving average, okay? So this is the average of like the last 123 days. At times, you're disrespectful. At times, you're very respectful. And at times, you're somewhat respectful, where you find resistance maybe not directly at the line, but near it, right? So this area, and then even here where you're disrespecting it, you're still showing significance both at resistance and support lines pretty close to this green line. So you do show some respect here and there. And on the daily time frame, that's more or less expected. Resistance here, resistance there, support there. We go all the way back to the days that we're at now. You can see you're finding support on it right now, potentially. The green line is sloped upwards too, which is nice. You're pretty far away from the 3-day, and the weekly is well below you, Okay, so looking at this relative high here to this relative low, you went all the way up just above your 1414, pulling back to the 886. Man, this is a very good look in itself. If I didn't do any parts of this video but this, if we started the video with this in itself, this would be validating enough to me that you found your low and that you're ready to go higher. It's possible you could go lower. You could go to the 786, but generally when you break above the 1414 in your primary expected zone, from what I've noticed, you do tend to hold that 886 or higher, somewhere in this zone, as support. And I think you're doing that now. I think last week with a 5% green week close, it's not the most bullish week, but it is more bullish, I think, than what most cryptos had last week. Let's look at the weekly. Weekly, 3.5% was the average, apparently, right? So this definitely closing, being a top 10 coin and outperforming the market, right? The average market participant. I think that's pretty good. I would assume if you do move up from here, and I do assume that you do move up from here, that whenever you move up from here, your next target area would be something between about $320 and $400. That's where I think you're going to go. If we look at this relative high to low, let's see if anything lines up there. High to low here, 1414. Hey, we look at that, right? 1414, that's where you found resistance. You went just above it, okay? We put the 1414 on here, okay? That 1414 is right at $314. If you went just above it, maybe you're at like 320. 320 is exactly where this 1886 is, which would technically be your next fib target based off of this fib here, based off of this overall resounding fib that you're showing respect on now. So I like that. The next likely target up for you on multiple fibs, right? Going off of the repetitiveness of this fib from a high to a low, finding resistance just above the 1414 here, applying that to the next fib from a high to a low, finding resistance just above the 1414 there, and then that also is in congruence with your next fib target of this original move here, going up to the 1886 at about 320. The 1886 is your next fib target because you reached for the 1618. You've pulled all the way back here. Technically, to be fair, the next technical target, because he didn't hit it, would be the 1618, which is at 275. But I don't know about you guys. I don't think that you pulled all the way back here to just stop right there and then go down, right? That would be a double top rejection. That would be bad, okay? It could happen, but I doubt that you do that. If you do stop at the 1618 and you go lower, that'd be very bad. I don't think that you've done this just to stop here. I think that you would at least go, because that's your next target. That's your minimum target. There's a reason why I have this box here, right? The minimum expected target would be about 320. The maximum would be about 400. And I think we can make sense out of 400 too if we take the high to low. Let's see. 400s, it's a little bit deeper. It's less sensible in my opinion. Personally, I would expect 320 to 340. You're at 190 now, so that's decent growth for Solana. 320 to 340 by the end of January is when I expect this move to happen. If not, maybe very early February. I have a feeling this whole move might get pushed back a little bit, right? Because things have gotten pushed back. December, it was quite the dud. So all the upward targets that we've had for most of this month, they've just gotten, I would definitely say, pushed back with the more downside we've gone and with just the more time that we've been consolidating. But beyond all that, looking at Solana, I really think that it's at a good price right now. We look at the weekly RSI, higher lows nonetheless. This most recent low here coming in at an area that we found support before. We found support throughout this whole area here. We've even found resistance and support kind of in this area back in the day. Nothing really else going on back there. What about the 3-day time frame? 3-day time frame, finding support on the 40 where you found support. This is very clean, man. That 3-day, what I love about the 3-day too is it's not something that everybody looks at right now. I don't know if you can look at the 3-day if you don't have the premium. They might have changed it. Maybe you can look at the 3-day now, but most people don't. And it's often the indicators that most people aren't watching that give you those kind of secrets, those benefits, right? And it looks so much more clean on this 3-day, right? Like this low close, it's not perfect, but you're finding support like basically right at previous areas of resistance and previous areas of support, and pretty damn perfect on your on your 3-day on the 40 level there. I think that you found support. I think that you are moving higher. Absolutely, I do. There's no doubt in my mind that you see that $320 to $340 zone. I want to see, would I take this overall move or would I just take this? I want to see. I want to apply them both and just see. That would take you up to about 280, so maybe not. And then the overall move would take you up to about 380, so that's a little bit higher, but maybe you could see that. I don't know. Maybe you could see 380. 400 was the maximum potential, right? Maybe you could see 380. I don't know, but that's nice. If I'm just measuring that because if this were to be some kind of bull flag, your measure move, it would make sense that you go up here. But even at the smaller flag that I measured, your minimum target still hits that 1272. So there's just really no scenario. You're at 190 now. There's no scenario I can see where you're not at least above like 320 by the end of January. I want to compare it to Bitcoin now, and then let's wrap this bad boy up. Okay, Solana versus BTC. And we'll do it on Binance because they got the history, man. Look at that. It's beautiful. I couldn't draw a better horizontal range if I wanted to, man. Like, look at that. Perfect. Resistance, resistance, resistance. Finding support here. Support, 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 time and time again. Maybe even a little bit higher, right? You can come a little bit outside of it on both sides. That's okay. Horizontal channels, you can go outside a little bit. It doesn't have to be totally strict, but the overall look like this. Generally, neutral patterns, right? Obviously, neutral. They tend to break out in the direction that you came into the pattern. Tend to. You could go lower, but I would expect just by default that you go up by this metric alone. Now, let's look at the 3-day. Well, you're in a downtrend in the 3-day RSI, right? Lower lows, lower highs. You're in the oversold area, bouncing out. This could be the time that you're looking to break out of this, right? You probably are at the lower ends, right? Even if you do go lower one last little attempt, you probably are at the lower ends and you do move up at least to the higher ends. Maybe you stay in this downtrend and you keep moving down, but at least up. So I would assume, also being at the bottom of this, that you do move up from here. So Solana probably outperforms Bitcoin over the coming weeks, maybe even the month of January. That makes sense. That makes sense to me, right? Because we just established that Solana being at $190 could move up to 340, 320, I think was the minimum target, right? Let's just do that. If it's going to move up to 320, that's 70%. I don't know about you guys, but Bitcoin itself is at about 93K right now. 70% of that would be like at 150 to 160K. And I think Bitcoin's capable. Sorry. I think it's capable of seeing those kind of prices, 150, 160, higher than that by the end of January. I just don't think that it will. Right? I think it's capable, but I don't think it will. If Solana goes here to 320 or higher, right, because that's just the minimum target, then that would be outperforming Bitcoin in January, which would imply that Solana versus Bitcoin would go up. And we already kind of knew that because, again, you're at the base range on this RSI on the 3-day, and you're at the base range of this overall horizontal pattern. So I think you would go up, but I am a little bit worried, or maybe not worried, but I'm a little bit curious, is maybe a better word, to see, do you break out to the upside? Do you break out to the downside? I'm a little bit curious to see. The dominance on Bitcoin is about to drop, so I would think that you go to the upside, but you never know. You never know, man. And I mean, you've broken out, you've already seen it. I don't know. Weekly basis, finding support here at an area you found support before. You like to find support in this area sometimes. And then also on the weekly, you've kind of got this downtrend in your RSI as well, right? With the lower lows, lower highs. Like it's kind of like a almost parallel channel with a little curve. I don't know. I'm just drawing it that way, but it kind of is. It looks like you're at the bottom of this range regardless. And then I don't even need the lines to tell you that because you're at the bottom around this RSI here on the oversold zone. Let's look at the high to low real quick. High to low. Double bottomed off of it, nice. That's the 618. You're finding support, dude. I think you are. I think you're going to move up, and I do think you'll move up to the 886. So Solana versus Bitcoin, I'm pretty confident does move up over January. Solana will gain value. So in January, Solana I think would be the safer investment, but also probably going over like the next 3 months, next quarter of a year, I bet Solana gains even more value versus Bitcoin. Breaks out of this range and sees new cycle highs. Not new all-time highs versus Bitcoin, but new cycle highs, and then on its way to new all-time highs versus Bitcoin. Who knows how high this thing might go? It might gain 1%, or maybe not gain 1%, but it might go all the way to 1% for Bitcoin. But I definitely think that it looks bullish and it looks like it wants to go higher. So definitely a nice perspective. What I like about doing stuff like this is if it agrees, if it looks like it wants to move up versus Bitcoin, that agrees with the price action, the price targets that we're going to see, stuff like that. So I don't really have anything else that I want to say. If you guys like the video, hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Generally, I do expect Solana does move up from here. I definitely do suspect that it will see new all-time highs as well. And those target areas for the new all-time highs are anything from like $670, $1,000, even as high as $2,200 by the end of the cycle. Personally, I think Solana will at least see $1,000 by the end of the cycle. If not, you have a pretty solid chance of going up above 2K even by the end of the cycle. This is a very, very bullish look that you're flirting with right now on the fibs. Pulling back to the 886 to find support, man, you are like a sure thing, surefire rocket ship right now to 670 bucks. And again, probably 320 to 340 by the end of January, maybe April, May time, you're up in this area. Okay, so that's it, guys. If you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe. I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye.